beginning of the week, when we were all pumped that the Cowboys were victorious, I saw multiple people be like, calm down. You beat a crappy team. Y'all are about to get exposed over the next couple of weeks. And I've seen that same phrasing, exposed, come out again and again about the Cowboys over the next couple of weeks. Well, first of all, Dak's not going to play in at least one of those games, and he might not play in either one of them. So even if they did lose both games and they ended up missing Dak for most of the season, we're 3-3. I'm not totally sure if I agree that that means they would be exposed to start. Then the flip side, I kind of feel like the Rams might be the perfect matchup for Dallas. All right. So what are the Cowboys poor at defensively?
Stopping the run.
Stopping the run, indeed. We talked about it yesterday. As of right now, the Cowboys defense has allowed the most explosive running plays in the highest percentage of explosive running plays than any team in the league this season. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. Would we agree that the rest of the defense is badass?
Yeah, I would also say that I feel like you said most explosive running plays. How many did you say there were exactly?
I don't remember the number.
I feel like there are not as many as it feels like there are. Does that make? I don't know if that makes sense.
It's the highest percentage among any team this year. So I hope you're right, but any way you slice it, we're the worst at it.
It's a very specific place that they give those up.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think Dan Quinn's going to figure that out at some point and go, we can keep this from happening. It might be situations, Kevin, where you never see Micah line up and pressuring on the same side as Diggs, because that takes two things away that they're like, oh crap. You may never see, that might be a thing, but that then limits Dan Quinn from doing what he wants defensively. And that's something that I don't want to do either. But they got to be better at it for sure.
All right. Agreed. However,
they're also good at bad at running the ball. Did we say that too?
And that's the thing. The Rams, you could make the argument, are the literal worst team in football at running the ball.
Face, Mike.
And if it's not that, and if they're not the worst, they're among the three worst. And this is why I wonder if this matchup is perfect for the Cowboys defense on a variety of fronts. Because we all agree defense is still carrying the day. Like, I know the Cooper Rush story is super cool, and I will love him forever for keeping this season alive. But the defense has been carrying the day. So check this out. The Rams are 30th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. They're 31st in rushing attempts per game. And you might think, well, hold on. They just don't have a lot of yards because they don't run the ball a lot. Ha ha ha, not so fast. The Rams are 29th in the league in rushing yards per attempt. So think about that. They're in the bottom four of rushing yards because they don't run the ball a lot. And when they do run the ball, they're bad at it. And so I think that caters itself perfectly to this defense. Now, on the flip side, what does this defense do incredibly well?
Gets to the quarterback.
So let's take a look.
Can I add before you get there?
Sure.
Because I liked what you're talking about with their run game.
Sure.
My other thing, though, is you don't count short passing game as run game. And we don't have those numbers.
Statistically, they do not, so that is fair.
I would say that with Cooper Kupp, their short passing game is exceptional.
It is.
And they're gonna do everything they can to try to find ways to get him coming on drags and in bubble screens that are very similar to the run game but if they can do both, then you're screwed. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I think you're right. I do like the odds of, we agree, Trayvon Diggs has made some incredible tackles this year, but maybe tackling is not the number one thing you would think of. I like his chances to tackle Cooper Kupp better than like a running back, so I'm hopeful that at least there could be good. Now, you talked about how well the Cowboys get to the quarterback. The Rams are currently playing their second right guard, third center, and third or fourth right tackle, depending on how you view Logan Bruss, who was their projected starter in the offseason. So even if you don't count that, they're still on their, second right tackle, third center, and fourth or third right guard. So you're talking about a right side of the center and right side of the line that is very depleted in terms of talent from where they thought they were going to start the season. So one of the things that I love about this matchup, and I get it, the Rams are 5-point favorites. So, and even on the ESPN computer predictor, it's 65% for the Rams.
It was 7 before the Cowboys and Rams played last week, so it's gone down 2 points from
as it should, because the Rams looked terrible last week. Like, we can get into Matthew Stafford and all the potential issues, but yeah, so it's dropped from 7 to 5, and I know there was a minute yesterday where it was at 4.5, so at least it bounced back up. But so I get it's a home game for the Rams, but realistically, is it that much of a home game in that stadium? And I get that the Rams are the favorite. I just think if you look at those two specific things, the Rams are not good, nor do they care about running the ball a lot, which is clearly the only weakness for a Cowboys team that has been phenomenal this year on defense, and they can get to the quarterback. And guess what? The Rams' offensive line is hurting.
The Cowboys, Kevin, in the last 3 weeks, have the average yards per pass has been 4 or less.
Are you saying what they give up?
What they give up.
Holy cow.
And I was trying to figure out the receiving yards before catch per reception via the Rams is somewhere in like the 5 range. So, like, they're not throwing the ball deep. It seems like right now, I'm kind of concerned about Matt Stafford, actually.
Now.
Because it seems like I don't know if he can't throw the deep ball. I don't know. I didn't see a bunch of really great deep passes, nor did I see him have a lot of time in the last game. But it seems like he's just very I'm throwing underneath on every chance I get. And it's mostly Cooper Kupp.
And I think you're onto something right there, because his average yards per attempt is 6.8, which is low. Like, if you want to be like among the elite of the elite, you're talking about getting in that 8 yard per attempt kind of range. And he's down at 6.8, which is...
So the Cowboys are already holding their last 3 opponents under 4 on the game.
Yes.
Not just the per attempt. And they're in the 5 range. That means the game's in a small box for the Cowboys to play in front of them.
Exactly. Even comparatively, think about this. What world would you ever have imagined where per attempt, Cooper Rush is higher than Matthew Stafford? I know it's early in the season, but that is not a thing I would have ever fathomed for a variety of reasons. And I think it's fair to start asking some questions about Matthew Stafford. I don't know if you think it's because of the arm issues over the offseason, or if it's just him getting older, or if it's just the Super Bowl victory tour, or, as you guys like to say, there seems to be something up with Stafford, because that offense looked horrible against San Francisco, who might just also have their number.
Right. We've seen San Francisco make quarterbacks look horrible.
That is true. Because if it's not the Cowboys, San Francisco's got the best defense in the NFC.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting with Matthew Stafford and how he plays against his kind of hometown team. I'm assuming as a team he kind of rooted for growing up here in Highland Park. But one thing that concerns me about this game, and this is, it's not anything that you can kind of say, oh yeah, is when teams get embarrassed on national television, I feel like they come back and have a pretty darn good game the next game. Oh. I'm thinking of Tennessee got embarrassed by Buffalo. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, will you allow me? My counterpoint is, I think you already saw this year, that is not necessarily the Rams' MO. They got embarrassed by the Bills to start off. The next week, they beat the Falcons at home by 4.
Right, and so it's not a perfect thing. That's why
I get your point.
Is it seems like a team, look at the Cowboys got embarrassed by Tampa Bay, and then how they play Cincinnati, 7-point underdog, and they come out and play, I think, arguably their best game of the year. We'll get into power rankings later at 120, where you'll see where the Bengals are ranked, power ranked wise, and it's a pretty darn good win as of right now when you look at the power rankings on where the Bengals are at. And so I just look at it and go, I just wonder. It's one of those things where I'm looking at it this way, because I looked at the Giants game for the Cowboys and go, there's no way Daniel Jones is going to go 3-0 to start a year. He's not a good quarterback. He's one of the 10 worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And now I'm starting to go, all right, I think this is going to be a very competitive game Sunday afternoon. But I'm starting to go, is Cooper Rush really going to go 4-0 to start this year off? And so I'm going, in my mind,
because you would think probably not.
No.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm going to pick the Rams is a whole bunch of things where I like what you're saying. I think the Cowboys can win this game. And if they win this game, it's because they make Matthew Stafford a passing quarterback only because they can't run the ball and they can't block. And so you put a lot of pressure on Matthew Stafford. You get turnovers, you get short fields. You're able to make the game as easy as possible on Cooper Rush. Hey, you put up 17 points, we're going to win this game. And I think when you give Cooper Rush that option of, hey, we're going to hold them to kind of under 17, I think Cooper Rush can win a whole bunch of football games. And so I think if for some reason the Rams get going in this game, and let's just say they score 24 points, that's not a ton. That's still a nice defensive day. I don't know if Cooper Rush against the Rams on the road is going to put up over 24. And because of that, I just look at it and go, all right, is Cooper Rush really going to go 4-0? The Rams got kind of embarrassed on national TV. Tough loss. They do have a short week instead of the regular rest, so that helps out the Cowboys. But I just going, all right, I lean towards the Rams winning a close game.